Two Brainwashed Fools, a tale inspired by real events, by Elham Ghoreishi. Those two silly idiots will never grasp the emotions that engulfed me on that particular night in a North Korean bar. It was a remarkable experience, witnessing a Western woman with eyes as cerulean as my own and hair as golden as my mother's. The joy of encountering a woman without the customary almond-shaped eyes, after countless years, was truly something special. The enchantment of that evening deepened as this woman leaned in, her face coming tantalizingly close to mine. Her words reached my ears with a melodious resonance, evoking excitement within me. The mingling scents of her neck, her breath, and the faint trace of whiskey intoxicated my senses, creating a whirlwind of emotions. Naturally, I do not harbor any unhappiness due to the fact that these two individuals fail to comprehend such matters. On the contrary, I take pride in the sheer foolishness displayed by them. As I came to realize, the woman hailed from Romania. That night was an exquisite tapestry woven with the threads of enchantment, casting a spell upon me. Remarkably, it was also the very night when our lips met in an affectionate embrace, an intimate kiss that transpired within the confines of one of the most enigmatic corners of the world, North Korea. As the night drew to a close, we retreated to my nearby lavish residence, where we embarked on a romantic journey that unfolded within the walls of luxury and affection. I vividly recall that memorable night when the captivating Romanian young woman revealed a haunting tale of being abducted from her homeland and forcibly transported to North Korea. Curiosity gleaming in her eyes, she inquired about the scars adorning my back, prompting me to recount the harrowing sequence of events that transpired along the border between North and South Korea, a place known as Peace Village. It was there that the chain of events unfolded, culminating in the fateful incident that left me wounded by gunfire. Let me take you back to the 60s, a time when everything seemed topsy-turvy between North and South Korea. Peace Village, sitting right on the border inside South Korea, was anything but peaceful. We were American soldiers stationed there, constantly butting heads with Soviet troops. Irony dripped from the name Peace Village. It was where they sent us troublemakers, like me, as a form of punishment. My superiors never really saw eye to eye with me. Maybe my eyes held a hint of rebellion that rubbed them the wrong way. Back then, things were different. North Korea was thriving while South Korea struggled with poverty and hunger. It's hard to believe now, but that's how it was. Across the border, they had this persistent allure, adverts inviting us to cross over, promises of money, homes, and jobs if we dared step into the enigma that was North Korea. One day, I'd just had enough. Exhausted from the relentless grind of military life and fed up with the constant commands, I dropped my gun and made a dash for the border. My commander yelled at me, threatened to shoot, but I was done listening. Every step was fueled by frustration and determination. The other side seemed impossibly close, an oasis of hope. Then, a gunshot rang out, and the world went black. I woke up to a world of confusion, a blur of reality and dreams. That gunshot had knocked me out, and suddenly I was lying somewhere, disoriented and bruised. The events leading up to that moment felt like a fevered dream. It was a defining point in my life, a split-second decision that had forever altered my path. The legend of Peace Village and the man who'd dared to make a run for it was born that day. As my senses slowly returned, I found myself on the other side of the border, standing on North Korean soil. It was a surreal moment, like stepping into another world. My head was still spinning from the impact of the gunshot and the haze of unconsciousness. And then, like a lifeline thrown to a drowning man, an American voice reached my ears. A fellow countryman, standing there with concern etched on his face, was asking me how I was. It was an oddly comforting sight, a familiar face in the midst of this foreign landscape. "Hey, you okay?" he asked, his voice cutting through the disorientation that clouded my thoughts. I must have looked quite the sight, disheveled, confused, and bruised. I tried to form words, to explain what had just transpired, but the words stumbled out incoherently. What happened? How did you end up here? He probed further, his concern deepening. I gathered my scattered thoughts and managed to piece together a coherent account of my daring sprint towards the border, the gunshot that had silenced me mid-stride, and the subsequent blackout. As I recounted the events leading up to this bewildering moment, the American man's expression shifted from concern to a mix of awe and disbelief. "Man, you've got some guts," he remarked, a hint of admiration in his voice. "You crossed that border running like a bat out of hell." He helped me to my feet, and together we made our way back towards the South Korean side. It was an extraordinary twist of fate, one moment facing the unknown, the next being aided by a fellow American on North Korean soil. In the days that followed, as life resumed its usual rhythm, I found myself haunted by an unexpected comfort whenever sickness or homesickness gripped me. It was a soothing balm for my soul, the sound of a woman's voice, speaking English but laced with a gentle Japanese accent. The resonance of her words carried a warmth that transcended the barriers of language. Little did I know then that the source of this solace was none other than the wife of the American officer who had extended his hand to me on North Korean soil. The officer's name was Mike, a figure whose initial concern and later camaraderie had left an indelible mark on my journey. His Japanese wife, Akari, was the one whose voice would weave a comforting cocoon around me in times of vulnerability. Akari became more than just a voice. She was a beacon of light in the often shadowed landscape of my days. Her kindness, her unwavering support, and the shared understanding of our unique circumstances formed a bond that was both unexpected and profound. Her presence reminded me that even in the midst of chaos and conflict, there existed pockets of humanity and connection that transcended nationality and borders. It didn't take long for me to uncover the intriguing backstory of Mike Torres, who had ventured into North Korea a few months ahead of my own arrival, driven by aspirations for a brighter future. Fate seemed to have a knack for weaving unexpected connections, for Mike had also found love in these uncertain lands, his heart entwined with that of a Japanese woman. Strikingly similar to my own Romanian love, Bianca, Mike's Japanese wife, had not stepped onto North Korean soil by choice. Her presence, like Bianca's, was a testament to the harsh realities of those times. Surprising as it may be, the situation in North Korea was a complex tapestry, woven with tales of individuals coerced into an existence they never asked for. Many women, much like the spirited Bianca, were snatched away from their homelands and thrust into the unfamiliar embrace of North Korea. And so, the echoes of Bianca's story reverberated in the lives of others, a pattern of stolen dreams and lives forcibly entwined with this enigmatic land. Just as in the case of Captain Miller's wife, a woman of Lebanese descent, and Captain White's wife, hailing from Taiwan, these women too found themselves swept away from their origins and into the unpredictable current of North Korean existence. In those days, North Korea held within its borders not just the promise of a different life, but also the shadows of lives disrupted and altered against their will. The lives of Bianca, Mike's wife, Captain Miller's wife, and Captain White's wife stood as poignant reminders of the intricate stories that often remained hidden beneath the surface of this complex tapestry of history. The unsettling realities that unfold globally within the realms of politics, economics, and the intricate tapestry of national interests, encompassing deceit, theft, and criminal activities, are intricacies that remain entirely beyond the comprehension of those two individuals I refer to. These are matters I've experienced firsthand, with tangible involvement, yet fortunately, those two individuals remain blissfully ignorant of these complexities. True to the assurances made by the Korean government, they extended a hospitality that far exceeded our expectations, ensuring our comfort and well-being. It was as if they understood the importance of fostering an environment where we could thrive, easing any reservations we might have had about our newfound home. However, their generosity came with a distinct condition, a caveat that underscored the complexities of our situation. In exchange for their provision, they sought our allegiance to their cause. Our role was multifaceted, veering between the realms of activism and covert influence. The government's expectations rested heavily upon us, calling upon our abilities to shape public sentiment and perceptions. Our primary mission revolved around the dissemination of a potent narrative, one that aimed to stoke anti-imperialist sentiments while cultivating a distrust of America and its people. The task at hand was to fan the flames of dissent, channeling our energies into cultivating a sentiment that resonated with the masses. We became the agents of propaganda, skillfully crafting messages that manipulated emotions and perceptions, all with the intention of bolstering a cause that was not truly our own. In addition to this role, we found ourselves engaged in a web of seemingly mundane responsibilities that collectively served the greater purpose. My comrades, Mike, Miller, and White, who had preceded me and had already immersed themselves in the intricacies of the Korean language, had taken on the critical task of translating literature. However, these were not just any books, they were carefully selected and meticulously filtered, intended to align with the narrative the government wished to propagate. As we delved deeper into our roles, a dissonance emerged within me. The dichotomy of our situation weighed heavily on my conscience. On one hand, I couldn't deny the comfort and security that our current circumstances provided. On the other, there was an inherent conflict, a tugging at my moral compass as I grappled with the manipulation of information and the distortion of truth. Yet, within the walls of our abode, we forged a camaraderie that sustained us. We were a band of individuals bound by circumstance, sharing the complexities of our existence and the secrets that weighed us down. Mike, Miller, White, and I, we were the keepers of dual lives, our public faces mere masks concealing the intricate tapestry of our covert obligations. As time passed, the lines between reality and fiction blurred further, and the journey we had embarked upon took unforeseen twists and turns. The path we had chosen was fraught with moral ambiguities, where our loyalty and convictions were constantly tested against the backdrop of a larger narrative. In the midst of this surreal existence, we found ourselves inexorably drawn into a web of intrigue, manipulation, and uncertainty, where every step carried consequences far beyond our initial expectations. What I'm sharing with you occurred before I crossed paths with and eventually wed my beloved Bianca. In those days, when monotony or disagreements threatened to sour our camaraderie, or even when conflicts escalated into full-fledged quarrels, it was Akari, Mike's Japanese wife, who emerged as our anchor of serenity. Whether by a remarkable stroke of cultural influence or a testament to Akira's unique character, she possessed an extraordinary ability to diffuse tension and restore harmony among us. It's a curiosity that lingers in my mind, wondering if this trait is inherent in all Japanese women or if it's a trait that is singularly Akira's own. Her presence seemed to radiate an unwavering devotion and an inner tranquility that, like a soothing balm, managed to transcend language and cultural barriers. Akira's love and her ability to imbue peace resonated not only within her relationship with Mike, but also seemed to envelop their daughter and extend even to us, her husband's friends. In the midst of disputes and disagreements, Akira's soothing voice and calming demeanor had an almost magical effect, quelling the stormy seas of our emotions. Her influence transcended the ordinary, offering us a glimpse into the power of love and serenity that can ripple outward, touching the lives of those fortunate enough to be in its embrace. Under the shadow of the prevalent anti-American sentiment that permeated the 1960s, a chilling incident unfolded one night. Driven by a deep-seated grudge against America, a group of North Korean attackers descended upon the residence of Mike Torres and Akari. The toxic atmosphere of hostility manifested in this terrifying assault, sending waves of fear coursing through Mike, Akari, and their daughter. The attackers' menacing presence and the palpable threat they posed left an indelible mark on their hearts, forever etching the night into their memories. The night we discovered that Mike Torres and Akari had fallen victim to a terrifying attack, a chilling sense of unease spread through our group like wildfire. The news of the assault reverberated among us, a stark reminder of the perilous environment we found ourselves in within North Korea. The prevalent anti-American sentiment had transformed into something tangible and menacing, and the safety we had taken for granted was shattered. As the unsettling truth sank in, a profound realization began to dawn upon us. The sanctuary we had carved out amidst the foreign landscape was no longer as secure as we had hoped. The incident that had befallen Mike and Akari cast a long, ominous shadow over each one of us and our families. Gathered together, our concerns were shared, each of us feeling the weight of responsibility for the well-being of our loved ones. Our foreign spouses, united by bonds of love and commitment, understood the gravity of the situation. The fear that had taken root in our hearts served as a catalyst for a collective decision that would alter the course of our lives. As our journey to leave North Korea unfolded, a shocking revelation awaited us at the end of the road. In a twist of fate that left us utterly incredulous, we discovered that our hopes of escaping the suffocating environment were dashed. The freedom we had longed for was elusive. We were not just residents in North Korea, we were prisoners, bound by circumstances beyond our control. The realization hit us like a tidal wave, crashing down with a force that left us stunned and disheartened. The idea that our dreams of returning to America had been shattered was almost too much to bear. Our aspirations for safety, stability, and a future free from the grip of hostility were cruelly snatched away. With disbelief weighing heavily on our hearts, we came to understand the extent to which our lives were entangled in a web of circumstances orchestrated by those who held power in North Korea. The dreams we had nurtured were now rendered unattainable, and the prospect of life within the confines of a hostile land loomed over us. The shock of the revelation was compounded by the knowledge that our families were now entwined in this reality. I, along with my wife Bianca and our newborn twins, faced a future that was vastly different from what we had envisioned. The innocent lives of my twins, often referred to as the two idiots, were now unwittingly caught in the grip of a situation we had never anticipated. Our existence had transformed from one of cautious hope to a disheartening reality, a reality where we were prisoners in a land that viewed us with suspicion and disdain. The weight of the knowledge that our freedom had been taken from us cast a shadow over our aspirations, leaving us grappling with a sense of helplessness and a longing for a life that now seemed impossibly distant. As my family and I navigated this unforeseen turn of events, we clung to each other for support. Our bond, fortified by the shared challenges we faced, became our source of strength. Though the future appeared bleak, we were united by an unwavering determination to protect our loved ones and navigate the uncertain path that lay ahead. The twins, born into a world far removed from the one I had hoped to offer them, became a reminder of the need to persevere. Their innocent presence amid the turmoil served as a beacon of hope, a symbol of the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. In the midst of the stark reality that had unfolded, my commitment to my family remained steadfast. The journey ahead might be fraught with challenges, but I was determined to shield my loved ones from the hostile environment that threatened to define our lives. The revelation that we were prisoners in North Korea was a bitter pill to swallow, but it only fueled my resolve to seek a future that would offer my twins a chance for a life untouched by the shadows of captivity and hostility. In the midst of our sense of confinement and desperation, a misguided notion began to take shape among us. It's hard to recall now which one of us had initially proposed the seemingly foolish idea, but looking back, it was clear that desperation had clouded our judgment. We decided, in a short-sighted attempt, to approach the Soviet embassy as a potential source of help, a step we would later realize was fueled more by desperation than sound reasoning. The rationale behind our choice was equally as flawed as the plan itself. In our haste and panic, we clung to the superficial notion that the Soviets, with their shared fair complexion, might understand our plight and offer assistance. This rationale, though well-intentioned in its core desire to escape our dire circumstances, was fundamentally flawed. As we set out towards the Soviet embassy, hope and trepidation mingled within us. The embassy stood before us as a symbol of potential salvation, a glimmer of light in an otherwise bleak landscape. Yet, even as we walked towards it, doubt gnawed at the corners of our minds. The stark reality of our situation couldn't be so easily brushed aside. The complexities of international politics and diplomatic relations, which were far beyond our grasp, would inevitably shape our fate. Our arrival at the embassy was met with a mixture of uncertainty and anticipation. We stood before its gates, our hearts heavy with the weight of our plea for help. The faces of our families reflected a myriad of emotions: hope, anxiety, and an underlying skepticism. The reality that we were appealing to a foreign power for assistance underscored the gravity of our situation. As we presented our case, the stark truth began to take shape before our eyes. Our rationale for seeking aid from the Soviets proved naive in the face of geopolitical complexities. The embassy officials listened, but their responses were measured, veiled in diplomatic language that revealed the limitations of their ability to intervene in a situation dictated by the sovereign power of North Korea. The encounter left us with a sobering realization. Our plan, though driven by desperation and the desire to safeguard our families, had been built on a shaky foundation. The reality of our circumstances extended far beyond the simplicity of shared skin tone, and the notion that the Soviets would be our saviors was a reflection of our lack of understanding of the intricacies of global affairs. As we left the embassy with a mixture of disappointment and a growing sense of the complexities at play, the incident became a reminder of the layers that defined our predicament. The true nature of our captivity was shaped by a myriad of factors, far beyond the superficial hopes we had pinned on a single encounter. In the end, the misguided attempt to seek help from the Soviet embassy highlighted the limits of our understanding and the extent to which our lives were shaped by forces beyond our control. It was a humbling experience that would serve as a pivotal point of reflection in the journey that lay ahead, a journey fraught with challenges, but one that would ultimately underscore the strength of our familial bonds and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. With the sobering reality of our limitations settling in, a collective acceptance of our fate began to take root. The realization that our desperate attempts at seeking help had proven futile left us with little recourse but to come to terms with the circumstances that had ensnared us. The road to understanding was a difficult one, but it led us to a place of resignation, a place where we would confront the complexities of our existence head-on. Then of Part 1 to be continued.